No, I don't know yet. Minister, I'm studying to register so that's what I'm saying. So like you should tap my name and fill it out. Alright. This time now. But the name
Karen, yeah. Tell him I look at that card.
Lisa,
Take a sign here. Thank you.
yes,
You can enter to win a prize
write the name on it.
if you're interested. Your ID, right? I have no. Alright, here you go. Anybody else? Don't find any more now? What's your name? Don't worry.
No, Tashari.
Francis. Any more are here?
You go down to the other table if you have registered already. If you have registered, first door on the right. Alright? Anybody has to walk in registration?
Yes. Yes, you will. Good morning.
Hey, we're not going to be on TV. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karen Samuels, one of our Ministry of Health team members from the Financial Management Division, to lead us off in the right way by leading the invocation.
As we spend time in His presence, okay? We woke up this morning, right? We're in sound mind. And how many of us today said, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning? If you haven't, just say it now. It's never too late because you're still alive. So thank you, Lord, for waking us up this morning. I wanted to share with you a little testimony. Tomorrow is my birthday. Thank you. And I'm going to throw this out to you guys. How old do you think I am tomorrow? 6.
Running, running, skipping. Praise the Lord for what He has done for me. He has set my spirit free. I feel like running, skipping. Praise the Lord for what He has done for me. My soul does magnify the Lord, and my spirit praise His name. Even death could not hold Him captive, even in the grave. He is Lord. Even death could not hold Him captive, even in the grave. He is Lord. I feel like running, skipping, running, running, skipping. I feel like running, skipping, running, skipping. Sweet Jesus, what a wonder you are. You are brighter than the morning star. You are fairer. You are fairer, much fairer than the lily that goes by the way. You are precious. One more time, sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus.
Another round of applause. She indeed did a good job energizing us this morning. So let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Simone Spence, Acting Director, Health Promotion and Protection Branch in the Ministry of Health and Coordinator for the Program for Reduction of Maternal and Child Mortality. And it is indeed my honor and privilege to be here to chair the opening ceremony for the 9th staging of the Ministry of Health's National Health Research Conference under the theme, Achieving Healthy Goals, Don't Wish for It, Work for It. This conference this year features abstracts on oral health, intentional and unintentional injuries, non-communicable diseases featuring cancers, and family planning. And our objectives this year are: 1, to share findings of health research studies conducted by the Ministry of Health and other institutions and individuals in Jamaica. 2, to identify operational research with the potential to influence or be translated into policy. And 3, to facilitate special discussions or presentations that focus on the conference theme. And so why is this conference important? It really is a primary forum for us to highlight the research of public sector workers, and it provides us with an opportunity to highlight operational research to provide data which can guide improvements in program planning and delivery. And of course, as always, we have to keep in sight our Vision 2030 National Development Plan, and this is a key strategy in terms of providing evidence to guide our policy and practice. Specifically related to our theme, why is this so important? As we are all aware, NCDs and injuries are leading causes of morbidity and mortality in our country, and in 2016 accounted for approximately 7 out of 10 deaths in Jamaicans aged 5 years old and older. And Dr. Webster Carr, our national epidemiologist, will share a special presentation on the recently concluded Jamaica Health and Lifestyle Survey 3 about that. So initiatives to address the current disease burden will require primary prevention to avert new cases of NCDs and risk factors, but also secondary and tertiary prevention to reduce complications, disability, and death. This would include efforts at the individual level to make lifestyle changes to reduce the burden of diseases, but also at the institutional level to promote primary prevention, treatment, care, and support. This intent is encompassed in the conference theme, Achieving Healthy Goals, Don't Wish for It, Work for It, which suggests that we have to make a deliberate effort in order to achieve our health targets. It is hoped that through the oral and poster presentations at our conference for the next 2 days will shed further light on the burden of NCDs and risk factors, our current risk behaviors, and the response of the health system, as well as provide information on interventions which may potentially be utilized as best practices. And so those are my few opening remarks. It was a lot, but hopefully you would have gained some insight as to why it is we have chosen to pull us together to look at research in this particular area. I want to officially welcome you all to our night staging. I hope over the next 2 days you will find great insight, best practices, and most of all, not just learn individually, but impart some of what we have learned and what we have gathered here today into practice, translate that into practice in our various facilities and institutions. At this time, I'd invite Mrs. Sonia Thomas Gordon, Acting Head, Senior Chemist at CARPHA Medicine's Quality Control and Surveillance Department. Please help me to make her feel welcome. Just before she starts, I forgot my public service announcement, and Mr. Davidson would kill me. See the look? Right, so remember we also tweet, and we're live tweeting today. So the hashtag, 2 hashtags, hashtag MOH, hashtag NHRC 2018, and you'll see the tweets to my right at that screen. So if you're live tweeting, for those of us who are on the Twitterverse, you know, please tweet about the conference, help people to get excited, tell your family, your friends, other colleagues who aren't here, invite them down so they can also be a part of this wonderful occasion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health, Dr. Bernadette Theodore Gandhi, PAHO WHO Representative in Jamaica, Dr. Simone Spence, Acting Director, Health Promotion and Protection Branch in the Ministry of Health, participants and friends, good morning. On behalf of Dr. James Hospitalis, Executive Director of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, I am pleased to extend warm greetings to all participants, organizers, and sponsors of this year's 9th Annual National Health Research Conference organized by the Ministry of Health, Jamaica. Major health researchers are concerned more with health problems, their causes, and their outcomes. This year's theme, Achieving Healthy Goals, Don't Wish for It, Work for It, sets the stage to identify more implementation research which primarily concerned with the strategy of how to achieve healthy goals. Implementation research, the act of carrying an intention into effect in health research will contribute to more effective public health, clinical policies, programs, and individual practices. It focuses on feasibility, on penetration, on costs, on efficiency, on equity, patient-centeredness, and timeliness, in which pressing and known challenges, which could take up to 10 years with traditional research, will take less time to come to reality for the benefit of patient care. Our biggest and most expensive health challenge in Jamaica and the Caribbean region are the NCDs. They are symptoms of failure of our development paradigm, and our small island developing states, SIDS, are the most vulnerable to their impact. NCDs are typified by modified risk factors such as overconsumption of food, unhealthy diets, physical inactivity, harmful use of alcohol, cigarette smoking, stress factors, the environment, which is exposure to pollution, and contribute to countries' financial burden. However, NCDs are considered preventable as opposed to non-modifiable behavioral risk factors such as age, gender, genetics, and race. Evidence exists globally on what works. Therefore, monitoring of the modifiable risk factors can reduce the likelihood of certain NCDs. Don't just wish for it. Individuals know the effect of the risk factors. The question is, do they do their part to achieve healthy living? For example, persons know the effect of the harmful use of alcohol, yet their alcohol intake can be such that it leads to intoxication, which over time leads to life-threatening liver problems. Cigarette smoking, yet they are chain smokers. Smoking often leads to respiratory diseases and/or lung cancer. Unhealthy diets, yet person will consume so much more than their recommended daily caloric intake, coupled with physical inactivity, which over time leads to obesity. You just need to watch my 600-pound life. At the national level, nearly everyone knows that smoking kills, yet smoke-free public spaces are law in only 4 CARICOM countries. Mandatory nutritional labeling to empower consumers is not law in any CARICOM country. There is no enforced, promoted minimum drinking age in the region, and despite mechanisms like the National Health Fund, population level control of diabetes and hypertension is between 20 to 30%. Therefore, how do we work for it to achieve healthy goals? The answer is implementation research. To achieve healthy goals mean many parties need to be involved in and out the Ministry of Health. Implementation research is needed on how to, for example, deliver the CARICOM 6-point policy package for healthier food environment. This would include mandatory nutritional labeling to empower consumers to make healthy choices. Implementation research is needed to figure out how to increase alternative transport, for example, biking, walking, and rapid mass transport, which are good for people and good for the planet. In this regard, the MOH has implemented Jamaica Moves. We eagerly await the results on its evaluation and impact. And we need to shift to a more plant-based diet. These are among the work to be done to align with the theme of this year's conference, Achieving Healthy Goals. Don't wish for it, work for it, which will also have co-benefits to health, energy security, and the environment. We commend the Ministry of Health Jamaica for making this event possible, as health research plays a critical role in fostering, encouraging, and supporting research and education, which are the best defense against health emergencies, prevention and treatment of diseases, and finding better drugs to improve the treatment and care of the people. CAFA continues to support research and to conduct relevant research into problems of public health importance. The new Caribbean Cooperation in Health CCH4 framework identifies evidence-based decision-making as the mainstay of policy development in the region as one of its 5 priorities. I am happy to announce that next year, CAFA is slated to hold its 64th annual Caribbean Health Conference, June 20 to 22, in Trinidad and Tobago, with the theme, Primary Healthcare, New Models for the 21st Century. CAFA looks forward to your participation. We hope that this year's conference will be informative, relevant, successful, and at the same time enjoyable. We say thanks to all participants for their contributions that will no doubt positively impact health. Please accept best wishes for a successful and memorable event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas Gordon. Now I'd like to invite one of our key collaborators, key partners, Ministry of Health Jamaica's, one of Ministry of Health Jamaica's BFFs. You know what BFF means? Good. Right, so Dr. Bernadette Theodore Gandhi, our PAHO WHO representative here in Jamaica. Please put your hands together for her.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Minister Christopher Tufton, Ministry of Health, Mr. Bruno Pouzat, UN Resident Coordinator, Dr. Simon Spence, Acting Director, Health Promotion and Protection, Ministry of Health, Mrs. Sonia Thomas Gordon, Senior Chemist, CAFA Medicines Control and Surveillance Department, Dr. Karen Webster, Principal Medical Officer, National Epidemiologist, Ministries of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, all good morning. I bring you greetings on behalf of Dr. Carissa Etienne, Director of the Pan American Health Organization, and Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization. PAHO congratulates Jamaica's Ministry of Health and its partners in staging the 9th Annual Health Research Conference under the theme, Achieving Healthy Goals. Don't wish for it, work for it. We also commend Minister Tufton and his team at the Ministry of Health for providing this forum where everyone can come together to discuss the outcome of research findings and provide encouragement and support to the researchers, strategize around new and existing research with the aim of strengthening our existing system. As a specialized international health agency for this region, one of PAHO's core functions is to strengthen capacity for research through shaping the research agenda and the generation, dissemination, and translation of knowledge, promotion of research governance, and the monitoring of ethics and standards with research practices. This research conference, therefore, forms part of our core work. Quality research allows us to drive continuous improvements in access to quality health services. Our commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals and the realization of universal health require and demand this. In fact, the 5th of WHO's 6 lines of action for promoting health in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development recognizes research and innovation as foundations for sustainable development and must include a balance of research on medical, social, and environmental determinants and solutions. It goes on to say that research and innovation are prerequisites for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. But without continuous investment in and use of research and innovation in new technologies and health service implementation, many of the ambitious SDG targets simply will not be achieved. As we conduct research and unearth new information, we should also assume an ethical obligation to analyze and use this information for society's good, to guide policy change, and to evaluate interventions with the aim of strengthening our health systems. One of the best examples of moving from research into practice is the outcome of the 2011 study, From Burden to Best Buys, reducing the economic impact of NCDs in low and middle income countries. The WHO conducted research across 42 developing countries to determine the success rates and returns on investment of various interventions to combat non-communicable diseases. Reviewing epidemiological data and their policy implications, it was determined that tackling tobacco and harmful alcohol use, as well as unhealthy diet and physical inactivity, with population-based measures such as tax increases, smoke-free indoor workplaces and public places, health information on warnings, as well as bans on advertising and promotion, could avert some 30 million deaths and reduce economic losses by billions of dollars over the next 15 years. We commend the work of the Ministry of Health and the research institutions of the region that continue to produce findings that are broadening the evidence base to support national health interventions, strategies, policies, and laws. Let us encourage greater participation in the production of quality research. I also challenge you, as we approach the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women on November the 25th, and begin the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, that we continue to prioritize research and examine the inequities that have given rise to the abuse of women, girls, children, and the most vulnerable, as well as the stigmatizing attitudes and behaviors which impact women and key populations' access to health services. In doing so, we are truly using research to impact lives, as well as to meet our commitments to the international targets as agreed to in SDG 5 and SDG 10, to fight gender inequities and reduce inequalities within our populations. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the researchers and presenters over these 2 days for the work they have done. At PAHO WHO, we look forward to the outcomes of your analysis and engaging discussions, and hope that many more will be inspired to support research with the aim of answering our most challenging questions and improving health in Jamaica and the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gandhi. So now it's time for the main event. Please help me to welcome our fearless leader, who really doesn't need any introduction. Mr. Jamaica Moves himself, the Minister of Health, Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton.
Thank you very much, our fearless coordinator of the event. It's a little awkward. First of all, the main event would be the research papers that are going to be presented today. Am I correct? I'm sure you're looking forward to that. So I'm not going to detain you too long. I'm also on my way to the parish of Westmoreland and then Negril, so I will have to speak and leave. Let me begin by just recognizing our PAHO WHO rep, Dr. Gandhi, the UN rep who is here, Dr. Pozat, that's the almost right pronunciation. The CARFA rep, Mrs. Sonia Thomas Gordon. Of course, the members of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Simone Spence, who is here representing the Permanent Secretary and others. I see Dr. Webster, who is a very important part of our research agenda. All the, the organizations, the entities that are represented here. So many of you, I won't mention any particular institution, just to say, really appreciate your turning out, being here, and your presence is an indication of the importance of this event. So I start by commending and recognizing the work of the team at the Ministry of Health for organizing this 9th National Health Research Conference. My understanding is that we have some 500 registered participants and many more who would have liked to be here who just were not able to, 300 or so waiting to be a part of these efforts. This year promises offerings that provide insight in our healthcare realities while inspiring further query and information policy direction. I'm especially pleased with the theme that has been selected for the year, and that theme is achieving healthy goals. Don't wish for it, work for it. It's a relevant theme, right? All well and good to say, but when we do is when we really have the real impact. And for us, it accords with a number of the initiatives that we have been promoting in the ministry, certainly since I became minister. I'm sure many others prior to that time. So you would have heard about the Jamaica Moves program, of course, which is a very dominant program attempting to influence behavioral change, restrictions on sugary drinks in schools, and of course the taking responsibility toward the most recent one, which is why I'm heading to Westmoreland today. All of which have as their principal aim behavioral change towards improving and sustained public health, which is impossible to achieve if we fail to actually do the work and to get buy-in and change in behavior. The recently published Jamaica Health and Lifestyle Survey, which I understand will be ventilated a little more on later, this is 2016-2017 survey, tells us that 1 in 3 Jamaicans, or an estimated 680,000, have hypertension, with 4 out of every 10 unaware that they have it. 1 in 8, or some 236,000, the survey tells us, are living with diabetes, with 4 out of every 10 unaware of their status. The same survey goes further to reveal that 1 in 2 Jamaicans, or 577,000 or so, thereabouts, are overweight or obese, a known modifiable risk for NCDs, including, of course, cancers and respiratory disease. So for us, and in keeping with the theme, it is clear that sitting down and wishing for things to happen, to change, will not allow us to rein in on the deal with the social and economic fallout that these numbers represent for members of our population. Of course, you would know, or should know, that 70% of Jamaicans who pass on, their death is linked to some sort of lifestyle, non-NCDs. Putting in the work will include things like eating healthier, increasing our physical activity, getting our health checks, and this argument of convincing behavior is going to be stronger if it is grounded not in anecdotes, but in the research that we would have done, will do, and how we use that research to influence information gathering and, by extension, research. You know, it has been said that research is to see what everybody else has seen, and to think what nobody else has thought. That's a famous saying. It also says that research, and I'm quoting, formalizes curiosity, poking and prying with a purpose. In other words, it's an attempt at finding a way through investigation, through curiosity, to appreciating and understanding a current situation and influencing that situation. So for us here at the ministry, ladies and gentlemen, Jamaica is ripe for new thought on what many have seen, and for poking and prying with a purpose around these critical health profile issues that we have to confront. It is also important, in keeping with the Sustainable Development Goal 3, good health and well-being for all at all ages, and for a healthy and stable population, as reflected in our 2030 development plan. So research is what provides the context and the background for public health interventions. It is also what informs the identification and measurement of milestones for those interventions and helps us to determine when we need to shift gears to accelerate progress. We see this very clearly as we contemplate the challenges we face with NCDs and with our current efforts to develop a national health insurance plan toward the achievement of universal health coverage. You would have heard perhaps some preliminary discussions around this national health insurance plan, which we hope to discuss further with the population in the months to come, and hopefully an implementation schedule will follow after that. In the case of this national health insurance plan and universal health coverage, we see the phenomenon of the so-called missing middle. Those citizens caught between the high cost of private health insurance and the long wait times associated with public service. These are people comprised predominantly of middle income and informal sector workers who are increasingly exposed to not only potentially catastrophic healthcare cost, but also reduces access to care. Our commitment to universal coverage requires us to understand access and quality access, and in this instance, we have taken on this national health insurance program, including an examination of private health insurance in an attempt to find a way to address how we can improve and make the system more efficient. There is too some instructive research that lays bare the challenges we face with antimicrobial resistance. You may recall that last week, or is it the week before, we celebrated or recognized that this particular subject area, which threatens the successful prevention and treatment of infections caused by bacteria, parasites, viruses, fungi. The National Survey of the Knowledge, Attitudes, and Prescribing Practices of Doctors Regarding Resistance in the Caribbean, that's a 2018 survey, reveals, among other things, and this was quite frightening to me when I saw it, 80% of Jamaicans reported sharing antibiotics. 50% thought the same antibiotic worked for all infections, and only 50% thought the course of antibiotic should be finished. And I believe all of us probably at some point in our lives get caught in that trap. You take the medication until you think you get better, not until it finishes. And what we're saying here, again, grounded in the research, not anecdotes, is that this has to change. Now, without research, we would not know that we needed to do these things, right? And again, it proves and suggests the importance of why we need to continue and do further work to address some of these issues. At the same time, speaking on the same subject of antibiotics and its use and misuse, 82% from this study of our physicians involved in this study felt that the global problem was very important, while only 73% considered the national problem less important, and only 53% assessed resistance in their private practice as important. 15% did not think it was important at all. So the challenge does not only lie with those who require as a patient, it also is a challenge with those who prescribe, the clinicians. And again, it requires work and more work in this area to highlight and to emphasize, in keeping with best practices, how we correct these situations. Research also tells us further that the financial implications of AMR, antimicrobial resistance, are also concerning, with the annual cost to the US health system alone estimated at between US 21 and US $34 billion, accompanied by more than 8 million additional days in hospital. You know, I'd like to know what is the case in Jamaica. We've pulled this out of an environment where a lot of research is done on an ongoing basis. We believe clearly that there is significant cost to us here in Jamaica, perhaps a new research topic that someone may want to consider. So frankly speaking, we face some significant hurdles in public health, but with the support afforded us by research, I have personally no doubt that we can overcome them Today, of course, is another step in that journey as we open this two-day conference for which close to some 60 abstracts, I'm told, were submitted for consideration and which has attracted some of the sharpest inquiring minds on the island. As we take stock of the range of offerings, they reflect in one way or another a number of the ministry's strategic priorities, including the prevention and control of NCDs, as well as information systems for health that emphasizes the greater use of evidence-based data to guide the determination of health sector strategies and initiatives. Topics such as risk factors associated with suicidal ideation among Jamaican youth, 10 to 15 years, and the evolving contribution of violence to maternal mortality in Jamaica, 1998 to 2015, suggests that we need to ready ourselves for information that hopefully will assist us in terms of our policy, but also in terms of the critical programs that we will need to embark on. Over the past 2 years, in closing, and deviating from my script, we have done in the Ministry of Health a number of important, I think, research papers to guide the strategic framework in terms of public health going forward over the next 20, 30 years. I'll list a couple of them for you, which I think I've been going through now, makes interesting reading, and ultimately will form the basis of a 10-year or 20-year strategic plan. We have done work on the regional health authorities, so that's the infrastructure of public health and how we administer public health to get the maximum benefits for the population. You will recall that we have 4 regional authorities that administers public health, and the time has long passed for a re-evaluation or an evaluation of that infrastructure. And that document has been done and is being reviewed. We have done work on health financing, broadly speaking, but more narrowly focused on a national health insurance scheme, which I mentioned earlier. We have done work on significant work on a national health health information systems to look at how we create a technology platform that allows us to communicate and to manage patient files, telemedicine, and all the other related services linked to health. We have done 5 hospital studies looking at our critical infrastructure to determine where gaps are in terms of hospital beds, operating theaters, practitioners, and to look, to project in terms of the future as to where we need to go, looking at the health profile of the population. All of this and more are now being uploaded in a strategic plan that is being finalized. The first draft has been done, which ultimately will guide where we need to go going forward. And I must say that we are in a good position as a ministry in public health to understand and appreciate what that roadmap is and what needs to be done to get us in a more state of readiness to deal with or respond to the challenges of the times. Having said that, the arguments we have to keep making those arguments for better public health practices, both on the practitioner side as well as on the patient side, from the patient's perspective. And so work such as the work that you're doing here will only add to that body of knowledge. As a university, or in a former life, a university practitioner, and I will give some advice that I gave to myself and to my colleagues some time ago, and hope that it is taken in the spirit for which it is intended. Research is fundamental to advancing best practices, but research is only useful when it translates to application. And one of the challenges that we face, frankly speaking, in Jamaica today, and it evolves from the highest seat of learning at the university to institutions even like ours, is that we spend a lot of time and resources in developing significant knowledge, captured under the umbrella of research, but then after that it is placed on a shelf, maybe presented at a conference, maybe even a publication, but never transformed into the application for the benefit of those that we have researched. And I want to urge us to use the time to reflect, but as we reflect, place some emphasis on how we can translate that work that we have interest in into applied work. And to that extent, wherever we can assist at the level of the ministry, whether at the policy level or the programmatic level, I would be more than interested to hear and to justify within the realms of what we set out to do. The other critical and final point around research application as opposed to developing research is the advocacy component. I hope that at the end of my tenure, people see me in the first instance as an advocate for health and better health, rather than just as a sort of dormant talker of what needs to be done. Because part of the credibility that we seek in what we advance is to advocate for it passionately, as if we believe in it. And where we can, we should practice what we preach also. And I like to speak from a position of knowledge. And I believe all of you as researchers are similar in your own thinking and approach. We need information, so when we make our arguments, we make them strong. And if we have that information and believe in that information, we must not be fearful to make those arguments, even if it means challenging the status quo, even if it means offending some people or institutions. We must be bold and confident in our advocacy. It is our knowledge that we have developed. We believe in it. Once we are convinced of it, then we should have no problem standing on a soapbox and talking about it. And in health, we have to become greater advocates for the work and what we believe in. And that's why we have championed the cause of sugary drinks. And it's not that we have not had opposition, but it is important because the science supports our position that we take. That's why we say, let us exercise. That's why we say we need labeling on our packaging so consumer information can determine and influence behavior. That's why we have a tour called Taking Responsibility. You know, politicians sometimes like to feel that they are the only ones who must take responsibility. It enhances the hope and the promise, and by extension the support, politically that is. But ultimately there's a gap between the promise and the deliverable. We have to realign that and get Jamaicans to understand, from a public health perspective at least, that their role in their health status is fundamental. It's a starting point. We can't say we're going to cure you for all your ills if you don't do the minimal exercise, eat right, get rid of the mosquito breeding sites, and I could go on and on. We have to advocate for a holistic, individual and collective responsibility approach for healthcare. And that is what the boldness represents. So I urge you, as I commend and recognize you for the work that you do, I say to you, the real benefit and value of that work will ultimately be the extent to which that work is used for the betterment of those we target, things that we have researched on, and of course, ultimately for the betterment of mankind. Thank you very much. Good luck to you today and tomorrow.
Thank you, Minister. Can we have another round of applause? Let me now invite Dr. Karen Webster Carr, our National